Now I request our convener, Dr. Murali Kadiramangalam, to convey the motivation speech.
I just want to very briefly tell you why we are assembled here. Okay. I think Mr. Sridhar has already mentioned that we have several biographies which are called the Shankara Vijayas, that is the biography of Adi Sankara. They are just a rough guide to his life, because they have been written in a very late period, much after his time, and they were written by poets and authors, not by people who were knowledgeable in Itihasa, Purana, etc. So we have a very unreliable source, and in addition to that, so the Sanskrit scholars who labored on Shankara's life over the last somewhere at least from 1878, when the first paper by Professor Pathak was published, and probably a little bit earlier, they have come up with various conclusions on his life, etc., the incidents in his life, but it is all inconclusive. These Sanskrit scholars have toiled very hard, and we have to give them credit with the limited resources they had. But the problem is that there was no conclusive, clear information, a very clear biography. Now, Mr. Sridhar mentioned, this is the book that is being given by him to all of you. This is the PhD thesis of Professor W.R. Antarkar. He went from manuscript library to manuscript library in India, collected the manuscripts, created critical editions of the Shankara Vijayas, barring one or two, barring say Anantanandagiri and one or two. He created these critical editions, published them, and then intercompared them in his study. And at the Bhandarkar Oriental Research Institute in Pune, he actually finalized his thesis, which was submitted to the University of Pune. So, as Mr. Sridhar has said, we are actually indebted to him, and that book is with you. It's a very precious book, very expensive book that he has given us. So I think that please take advantage of it. Please take advantage of it. Okay? Music. Okay. Now, the problem has been that, see, on one side we have Sanskrit scholars studying it. On the other hand, we have Indologists and archaeologists. And I'm very pained to inform you that not a single Indologist, not a single archaeologist in the last 150 years since the Archaeological Survey of India was started did any survey or paid any attention to studying Adi Sankara. It's a very sad story where absolutely no attention has been paid in the last 150 years since the ASI has begun. We cannot entirely blame the archaeologists or the Indologists. They also have certain issues of taking up this subject. So I ventured very boldly into this. I joined, I'm an engineer, I'm a PhD. I didn't want to bring this topic up. I'm a PhD in engineering, and I joined Deccan College to get my MPhil first in archaeology, and I could see that they are not able to relate to this subject. And it's not really their fault. Okay? So I realized that this is going to be a new area that we actually have to set up. We have to set up the field, that is, there is a field called Shankarite studies, which all of you are familiar with. It mainly includes probably the philosophy of Shankara. I think we have to broaden the scope to include the history, the archaeology, the Indology, the entire gamut of aspects of Shankara, which have been ignored. I think we as a society have to set up at least one department first of Shankarite studies in India, because without that, in the future, there won't be research in this area. So for me, it has been a sort of a lone quest at this point. This situation is such that, you have had Sanskrit scholars not reach any conclusion. We have no Indological or archaeological surveys. So we really don't know truly whatever we are told today about Shankara is just based on some legends from the Shankara Vijayas and local legends. So we really don't know a whole lot about him. I'll tell you one thing. This painting here and this painting here, it is all based on Raja Ravi Varma's conception. But if you go and look at the old images of Shankara, he actually looks very different than this. When you go back and look at the very, very old images, he doesn't look like this. Okay? He looks very different. He's shorter, a little stockier, somewhat curly hair, roundish, boyish face. He looked very different. And he did not wear a vastra, because a Paramahamsa Parivirajacharya does not have to have a vastra on the head. He had just a single cloth. And maybe one upavita, small upavita, which you can see in some very old Kerala paintings, very old. So, I will just give you a couple of examples of some towns and temples so that you can see why we don't know anything about Shankara. So, we can try to speed up here. So, many of you have visited Suchindram. Can somebody here tell me, has anybody visited Suchindram? Yeah. So many people have visited Suchindram. Have you noticed at the entrance of the Suchindram temple, near the office, there are images, there is a whole pillar with the images of Shankara. Okay? Nobody knows about this. Right? So, in Suchindram actually gives you a key to understanding Shankara. Very surprisingly, in Suchindram, you have a Sthala Purana. You actually have a Sthala Purana. See, Sthala Purana of a Shiva temple has a whole chapter dedicated to Shankara in Tamil, in Malayalam, and in Sanskrit. And in Sanskrit, there is a stotra that he has composed to Sthanumalaya, and that particular stotra is used to be painted on the back wall of the what you call Sri Kovil or Garbhagriha. And in addition to that, there was a post called Kattiyam, where the stotra of Shankara was always sung in the morning and evening under the Kondrai Adinathar and a few other places. The stotras, several stotras, parts of that stotra are used during the daytime for the worship of the deities there. And they are used in various locations. In addition to that, in Suchindram, you also have several inscriptions. See, that is the Shankara, the Trishur Mathas. The Trishur Mathas which are there, they had a branch in Suchindram which was managing several temples and lands and properties there. And so there are numerous inscriptions from which you can actually, the Suchindram inscriptions actually help us trace back the Shankara Parampara of the Trishur Mathas. That's where I found the key, because there were many inscriptions which were written about, but those inscriptions were interpreted as being late, meaning that they were just, the parampara from Trishur was late. But in fact, the Suchindram inscriptions link back to various people in the mathas. And from the history, you can actually trace back and look at it and then connect it back to the inscriptions in Tirunandapuram. I think the place is called Mitranandapuram. Right, sir? So you can actually connect it back. The acharyas were from Tirunandapuram, were running these places, etc. You can actually see that. Oops. So Suchindram, these are the images of Shankara. The series of images of Shankara in Suchindram. Series of images of Shankara that you see in Suchindram. And there are many other images which I learnt about after coming away from my several visits. So I still have to go back. This is a Kondrai tree. Nothing important, but the deity inside is under the Kondrai tree. And there are old inscriptions here which tell us this is a very ancient place. Very ancient. I mean, even in the kitchen you find very ancient inscriptions. At Madapalli, you find very, very ancient inscriptions. So all in all, when you put it together, and the most important thing is that the local tradition, if you go and talk to the families, both the Nambudris and the Pothis, they will tell you that, the tradition has been set up by Shankara. So K.K. Pilla, when he wrote his monumental book on this, did not comment on this aspect, but his nephew has written subsequently, and he has mentioned this in his thesis. So Suchindram is a place where you have very strong evidence of Shankara. It was, as you all know, part of Kerala, But now it is part of Tamil Nadu for reasons of demarcation, etc. But the Shankara Vijayas, which cover his travels to various places, does not mention Suchindram, right? Which is very odd, that the Shankara Vijayas, where you have hard evidence, that place is skipped. Now, Guruvayur, you all have visited Guruvayur. Now, there are actually, I would say that I had heard about this through certain books, and then Mr. Sridhar pointed them out to me. See, there is a spot here, which I have marked, at the outer Prakara, where, there is a legend that Shankara fell down, etc. The most important thing there is that during the Sriveli, when they go around, they stop for Shankara at that spot. And this is done several times a day. The music stops, the people stop, then they proceed. And the administrator there told me that during the Ekadashi festival, Guruvayur festival, they make a bamboo sort of replica of, the mandapam or the Garbhagraham, and keep the deity there, where the spot where Shankara, is supposed to have fallen. And they do the pujas there, outside, in the Prakara. So this is a worship practice where there too it's attributed to Shankara, the worship practice and the establishment of the Guruvayur Ekadashi. Obviously, because the temple has been, burnt and everything has fallen, there is an image of Shankara. There are two images, one of Shankara and Bilvamangalam Swami. These are all just made of cement. And the inner Prakara, they have got an image which they have made of Shankara. But these are all new things, because we don't know. So the old evidence really has escaped us. But the worship practice says that, I think that there is some truth, for the Sriveli to stop so many times in a day. It's quite odd at the spot, which they have marked. They have marked a spot. So when you look at these places, and there are other places in Kerala that I have visited, you find that Shankara's there is evidence in Kerala. People told me there's no evidence. There is evidence in Kerala. Lot of evidence. A lot of evidence in Tamil Nadu. Okay, much more in Tamil Nadu. But I'll speak about that this afternoon. But what happens is the Shankara Vijayas are oblivious. They don't know about these things. So obviously we have to then go and find from the ground, taking the input of Sanskrit scholars. We have got many Sanskrit scholars. We have our great Professor Murali Madhavan is here. We have got Dr. Anandraj. So many people are here. We need to take the input from the Sanskrit scholars. We need to tie that up with the materials on the ground and come up subsequently, because I have found certain very old images in Kerala which point me in certain direction. That is, if I go to a place and I find an old image of Shankara, I know there is something there. For example, I will talk about it, about Veliyanad and the images I have found there. So when we take all this material together, I am very sure we will be able to, at the very least, construct a much better biography. And I am very positive and hopeful that these surveys can point us towards the birthplace, the actual physical house. Now, this was done in the case of Buddha. The UNESCO sponsored it, the Japanese government sponsored it, and they actually in Lumbini have excavated down to the period of the Mauryas, and they have found the post holes, and they have dated them using carbon, and they have basically said, they have said that this is the house of Buddha, where he was born. Likewise, I am very sure we will be able to find it in and around Kalady. So let me just tell you about Kalady. Kalady, see, we are in Kalady today, and if you look at the Mahadevendra Shankara Vijayam, okay, it says that Shankara's birthplace Kalady, the way it describes it is that in Thrissur, in Thrissivapperur, the Purna river is flowing through it. Okay, and then Kalady is near that. Now that is very strange. And Ramakrishna Swami Tapasyananda translated this, and he writes this is a geographical error. So now we have the basis. This is the second canto, Birth of Shankara, in which he says the river flows through Thrissur and then Kalady. And in fact, if you read very carefully, it says that Vrishabachala is on the tata of the Purna river, which is also, inaccurate. So we have all these inaccuracies based on which we are trying to find the location of Kalady and Shankara. So I am not being critical. Please understand, our Acharyas, the Sringeri Acharyas, the Kanchi Acharyas, have established modern structures in Kalady. Okay? is very important. And the reason, okay, I'll come to that. I don't want to tell you that why. So let us look at how Kalady was kind of pointed out to the rest of the world. All of you people, Saraswati Amma is here, our Unnikrishnan sir is here, all the old people, Vishnu sir is here. All of them knew where Kalady was because they were living, there. Right? They all know. But the world did not know where Kalady was. So at some point in 1890s, a former Diwan of Mysore state, Sheshadri Iyer, was sent to Kerala and told, find Kalady. See, he reported back that there were 3 Kaladis, one near Tirunandapuram, one near Ernakulam, and one in Malappuram. So which one should we choose to be the Kalady? And he was told that take the one where the river is, because the river flows through it. Now the river is flowing through it is based on something written in the Shankara Vijayam which is inaccurate. Okay? But they selected this place. Okay? So they selected it and they built modern structures. The great stupi has been built by our Acharya. He has built it. And then the Sringeri Madam has built the Janmabhoomi. But when you go through Kalady and actually go look very carefully, you don't find the ancient evidence there. There is no inscription, there is no image. Are we saying that for this great Acharya, the Cheras, the Pandyas, the Cholas, the Pallavas, whoever came, they did not leave a single inscription, a single image, a single shrine, a single temple? It is not possible. That is why I'm not saying in any way, I'm not criticizing. Our Acharyas have done a very great job for multiple reasons. And I'll tell you why Kalady is important. Kalady is important because these families are living. Kaipalli, Kapalli, Talayatumballi, they are all living in and around. And Melpadur Mana is living south. And also Swarnatu Mana is living south. So they are all congregated in and around this place. That is why, according to me, this place is important. There is no other reason. They are all here. Why they are here, that is also another thing which I have been trying to trace and find out. Okay, so we don't know exactly, right? I mean, Saraswati Amma and others, I have been grilling them for years now. Okay, and Kapali Mana also grilling them for years. Why you came here, right? So, any case, all I am saying is, we have established a place, we have great reverence to our Acharyas, we respect them, but history to a degree is different from faith. And I hope, sir, in that I am not wrong. So we have to find the historical records, the information, everything that we can about Shankara and leave it for the future generations. Because if we don't do it now, Kerala, you people are building so much here, constructing so much in Kerala. Continuous construction with all the money that is pouring into Kerala. That one day, whatever little few footprints of Shankara are there, they will all disappear. So before that happens, I would like to save this, collect all the evidence, put it in a museum here, and leave the sites also for posterity, so that people in the future generation say, yes, as a faith, we all congregated in Kalady. Very, very important. There are multiple reasons beyond the families living there. I can't publicly say many of the things. So Kalady is important. Kalady's importance will never diminish because of these people. They are there. But the historical sites of his mother's house, his father's house, the temples associated with him, all that has to be found. The artifacts have to be excavated from the ground. They are all lying below the ground. They need to be removed. They need to be put in a museum and left for posterity with enough security and markers that people know in the future. If we want to continue the research, this is where we go. This is the hope. Now, as for doing this, I started an initiative called the National Adi Sankara Mission. We've been going all around Tamil Nadu and Kerala gathering the evidence. Okay, and I don't want to spend a lot of time talking about it, but we have been sort of gathering the evidence. And in addition to gathering the evidence, to help us find the maternal home, the paternal home, and also the various other sites. Now, in addition to that, there are monuments associated with Shankara. And I tell you, Vadakanathan, I was under the impression, okay, Vadakanathan is there. Okay, there is just, okay, it's one other temple. But I was very shocked. I went to the Sri Kovil and I walked around, saw, and you have an image of Shankara being blessed by Vyasa under Yoga Dakshinamurti on the entrance of the Sri Kovil wall of Vadakanathan. Now, I went to ASI and requested them, I need your help. I went to the Devaswam board, I requested their help. I have photographed that particular image after the due permissions. And I can tell you, after deep study, connecting it to the other ancient images of Shankara, which we find always in association with Yoga Dakshinamurti, I'm very sure that you have an image of Shankara dating to about 11th century, about mid 11th to 12th century, somewhere in that period, of Shankara on the Sri Kovil wall of Vadakanathan. Now, there is a lot more in Vadakanathan. All of you know, there is a lot more, legends and so many things. So, we have Vadakanathan, which I think is a very important monument. Kailasanatha temple in Kanchipuram has numerous images of Shankara, numerous ancient images of Shankara. So we have all these monuments. My dream is that we can build a Shankara circuit across Kerala and across the country, so that ultimately our people who are interested, both from a historical standpoint and from a devotional, those who are devotees, followers, they can visit these places. And just like the Buddhist circuit has been built, I propose that we build a circuit for Shankara. That is very important, so that in the future, people know what these monuments were. There are some places like Suchindram, so much evidence. We should encourage our people to go there. So now I have told you something. This is the reason why we are here. The reason is, see, people who are here, all of you have a lot of information. And we have very less information. We want to gain the information from you. We want to exchange information. We want to understand. Very boldly you can get up and talk. You know, as a small audience, we can all get up and boldly talk about what we are doing. And, you know, during question answer or during the panel discussions, feel free to participate. It's an information gathering and exchanging session, that's all. People who are online, please ask questions. And I request one of them, if Jyotika is there or Akshaya is there, please see if the participants are asking any questions online. If there are any online questions, Mr. Vishnu, please point them out. If there are any online questions or comments or queries, please point them out. We will read them and answer them. Okay? And, you know, we may disagree on some issues, but let's do it very politely. Okay? And lastly, I really hope we can all come together and work together, identify, verify, and establish the heritage sites of Shankara, find the artifacts, excavate them, and, you know, leave it for posterity. And this is a collective effort. All of us have to work together to do it. And I request you to work with us. If anybody who wants to actually volunteer, work with us, please do. If you want to, you know, work with us fully, please do. And those who are, you know, able to fund us and support us, you're also welcome to please help us in this effort. So this workshop is really an exchange forum. And I request all of you, please stay, because there are some very nice lectures which are coming later in the day. Sri Ram's lectures, Dr. Anandra's lectures. Nice lectures are coming later in the day. Dr. Lavanya is here, her lectures. All of you, please stay and hear them patiently. Okay, thank you very much. Breakfast, lunch, tea, everything is provided here. Tea will be served here. So please stay and help us go forward. Thank you very much.